Just a couple of guys, a couple microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the No Show. I am Jim McPhee, and of course, alongside me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Know-It-Alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the No Show. Locked and loaded,
man.
ready to go. We are super energized to go here. And why are we super energized? Because we haven't been here that often.
I know.
So we've had plenty of time to rest. It's plenty of time to reboot. Week one has kicked off. Week one is in the books. And now we're heading to week two. But before we get to that, we want to go over a few things, give you a little bit of NFL knowledge, and also give you a little bit of a review of week one and whatever you guys might want to talk about. Listen, we are live. Make sure you drop down in the comments section below. Make sure you hit those thumbs up. Make sure you share it to everybody you know, because we are the best and most interactive NFL talk show you're going to find here on YouTube. That's right.
Know-it-all.
And you can follow us on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, as X and all that. It's X now. It's a letter
getting
of
used to still.
It's a letter of an alphabet.
That's right.
That's the name. But you can find us over there at FB_no. Wow, Jim.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but now here we are once again.
Well, yeah, we last week we had to do it remotely, but yes, we missed weeks here and there.
I don't count last
scattered,
week.
But it's been tougher, yeah, because we are very busy now, Joe. I mean, if people don't know, we have another show going on and another company we're involved with, and it's been crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of things are moving and shaking. We appreciate you
The
guys.
good
sticking with us
people
and all
over
that
at
stuff,
Grumblings Media have been good to us.
Yep.
I will say that. They've been amazing.
All right, so Joe, week one's in the books.
It is.
Many storylines here
A lot.
to cover. First of all, for me, I'll just grieve again because my Giants are terrible. Couldn't get anything together. I mean, it was putrid. But it's a game where I thought maybe we did have a chance. We were at home. Malik, Neighbors looked good in the preseason. And here we are with the Vikings with Sam Darnold, at the helm, which he's capable, but I wasn't sure what we might get. Is he going to kind of revert back to what he was when he had joined the league? And I was sadly mistaken. We couldn't do anything together on any of the phases, and it's really rough to see. So I got it out of my system, Joe. We talked about them. The Giants are terrible. From here on out, when we do our picks, I will be picking against them the whole time.
Every single
My
time.
season's over already, Joe, before it starts.
It's week one. I'm done.
So it is overreaction Tuesday or Wednesday.
Put a fork in me.
Yeah.
I've had it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, who the hell?
All right, Joe. So a couple of good games here. Actually, a lot of good games. It's great when week one they start off with all those playoff games from last season.
Yeah.
The the Baltimore Ravens and
Right.
the Kansas City Chiefs game. Did not let us down here. It went right down to the wire again. But when I look at that game, though, it really shouldn't have. I mean, Lamar Jackson had many opportunities, especially at the end in that last drive, to win the game.
Throughout the whole game.
Yes, and it goes to show you here why Baltimore has failed when they get to the playoffs and things like that. Is because when it comes down to him to make the plays, he misses. He just can't hit the guys and things like that. So
Yeah,
they
you
come up short.
You bring up Lamar Jackson and his struggles throughout the game. Now, if you didn't look at his attempts and completions, you'd be like, "Oh, it's not a bad day. 273 yards passing, 1 touchdown pass." But he went 26 of 41. 41 attempts, and in less than half, or no, just above half, he completed. Like, that is dismal. That you cannot have that, especially for the amount of times receivers were wide open. And he just couldn't put enough touch on the ball, couldn't make the right throw, couldn't fit it into the window where he needed to fit it. And, man, he looked like he majorly struggled as a passer. Now, as the guy that we all know is elusive and tough to deal with because he has great mobility, that was displayed all throughout the game. But the passing part, if you're a Ravens fan out there, you're cringing a little bit. Because if the whole season's going to be like that for Lamar in terms of passing, it's going to be a tough season. Jim, we got a new know-it-all in the house.
Oh, all right.
Riyadh, how you doing, brother? He said, "What's
Hey.
up, guys?
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Welcome to the show, man."
Nice. What do you got to say out there? Let us know. Ask a question. Tell us about your team. Who's your team out there? Yeah, so again, another game where the Chiefs weren't the best and they end up pulling out a victory still in this one because, it was kind of gifted to them in this one. But again, John Harbaugh brings it up also, the fact that too is like you pay this guy Derrick Henry to get onto this team, and where is he? I mean, wasn't getting involved in the offense at all, and that you think that for the Ravens to be successful, they really need to get him going here. And like you said, maybe not rely on Lamar Jackson to kind of do even all the running at this point for him as well.
Yeah, but this game took a turn to where you really couldn't still lean on Derrick Henry and try to grind out yards when literally every time they gave him the ball, he wasn't going nowhere. There was no big, long runs. There was no angry runs that Derrick Henry loves to throw people around and run down the field 40 yards to score a touchdown. No, there was none of that. There was very limited productivity from him, and that's because the Chiefs were locked in. That was their game plan. Shut him down, make Lamar pass, and it worked amazingly for them. So that's why you see you're definitely going to see Derrick Henry this upcoming week against the Raiders. They're going to feed him the rock. They're going to make a statement and saying, hey, the Raiders aren't the best at stopping the run. What do we got? One of the best rushing teams, and we're going to feed Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm. Riyadh said he's a Giants fan. He's like, always been a Giants
There you
fan,
go.
but it's hard now. LOL. Yeah, I feel you, brother. We're on the same boat here. It is rough out there. He also says, I'm just sitting back and looking at what's going on for now. Excellent. That's cool. And
it's only
Mike,
week one. Yep.
Yep. And Mike Tackett says, bigger week one distraction. Guardian Caps or Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess
Honestly,
that's a bigger headline.
there was
I don't
one-
think the Guardian cap
It was
really much of a
Julius
distraction.
Peppers wore the Guardian cap.
Yeah,
But he's the only one that I saw wearing it.
yeah.
Like, I really didn't see a lot of them out there. There wasn't that many.
Yeah, it's that's one thing I didn't really
So,
notice or anything like
It
that.
was one of
'cause,
those things where, like, when you do notice it, though, like I saw the video of him wearing it and running around, and I'm like, that just looks weird. Like, I know it's not about looks, but at the same point in time, he literally looked like a bobblehead out there on the football field. And I just thought it was kind of comical because he's not the biggest dude.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and he's older too, so maybe he doesn't really care about looks so much, and too, because they said that
Oh,
that's
no,
some
and
of
it-
the
and-
things that too some
but-
people why they didn't want to wear them.
But Jim,
Um,
that's the reason though. Like, you don't have to wear a Guardian cap.
Yeah.
You can wear one of the better helmets that have been rated,
Right, we rated
as
just as
good
good.
or a little bit better
exactly
than the Guardian cap. So just wear the updated helmet.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
what's the hard part here?
Yeah, we brought that up. In the preseason, there's the top three helmets
Yeah.
are just as good as if you wore the regular helmets or whatever, but with the Guardian cap as well. So
Yeah.
safety standards right there. I mean, you don't need to wear it, but again, if
Right.
it makes them feel better, that's fine. I wasn't really distracted by it. The Tyreek Hill thing, I think. I know it's a media thing, that they got to bring it up and stuff like that. To touch on it quick for me. It's funny how he went instantly to, I'm going to take this platform to talk about, this and how unjust it was and all this other crap. But meanwhile, your celebration dance was putting your hands behind your back and pretending to be cuffed. So how does that, if you telling me that, like, you're taking this whole thing seriously, but then you mock the whole situation during the game. And then later on, we find out the body cam footage here shows that he was not being crazy or anything like
No.
that, but,
No.
not really complying as well either with the window situation and things
Could
like
he
that.
have done better?
But he
Yes.
could have done better. But then also, on the police,
But also-
overdoing it, absolutely, I think as
But
well.
also, you got to remember Tyreek Hill's history with cops.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a very rough road
Mm-hmm.
with in his lifespan against the law enforcement there. So I could see from his standpoint why he acted the way he acted. He definitely didn't want to comply. He didn't want to go through all that. And even though he probably should have just like kind of, been more reasonable, lower his window, give the officer your license and registration, just kind of go through that stupid, that
Yeah,
whole
go through the whole thing.
process.
Mhm.
And then he would have got a ticket and then he would have been off.
Yep.
Like that's probably how it would have went. I don't know. We don't know for sure, but that's probably how it would have went. And then just because he gave a little bit of just not going along with it, a little bit of friction there between him and the cop, that's kind of where everything escalated. And that's what's going to happen if you don't comply. These things will happen. Now, you can say Tyreek Hill may be right. You could say Tyreek Hill was wrong. But in the end, an everyday person, you just kind of deal with it, right? You go through the process, hand them your information. Usually it's over in 10 to 15 minutes. So I know he's a big star. I know he makes a lot of money, and that probably feeds into the equation too, right?
Yep.
He has a game in a few hours, all that. So was it right or wrong? You could say it either way.
Yeah.
Based on his history, like he obviously doesn't trust cops at all.
Yeah.
So I could see it, but then again, he definitely could have handled it better.
Okay. Next, a couple of different games here too. The Philadelphia game and the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. That was a tight game for a while. And Jordan Love again goes down with an injury. We are hearing now too from Matt LaFleur. They're staying close to the situation. They are optimistic that he can come back and play for this coming week, but we shall see. And they said they're going to keep tight to the doctors, see what the doctors say. If he can play, they're going to do it. Obviously, because Malik Willis is not ready. He hasn't been there long, not ready. And unfortunately, he is the only other backup quarterback on their roster right now. So it has to be him. So that's
what they're hoping.
A rough situation here for the Green Bay Packers right along early on. But, at least it's happening now and not down the road in playoff time.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It doesn't look good. Like, Jordan Love didn't practice at all today.
Yeah.
And it's midweek already.
Yeah, exactly.
Your game plan and everything is being installed. You're going to have a walkthrough tomorrow on Thursday. Friday you might have. I think they have a day off on Friday, and then Saturday is your travel day. So, it doesn't look good. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, then I would assume that he's not. He's done. Like, it's not going to happen. So because he didn't practice at all today, not even limited, then I would say it's fair to say that he's probably most likely not going to be able to play on Sunday.
All right. Riyadh says it feeds both ways, for Hill and the cops. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Mike Tackett says Tyreek is an 8-time Pro Bowler, but also an 8-time convicted felon who beats his kids and wife. The
Allegedly.
benefit of the doubt went out the window a long time ago.
It's
tough,
all allegedly because nothing was proven. There was some evidence there that we thought it definitely happened. Even domestic abuse against his wife, who happened to be pregnant at the time. That was all out there too. But again, charges were dropped.
That's a tough situation to get, and because again, when you got to look at what you really see as the facts, and that's why even it's good that the body cam footage came out too, because then you got a little more clarity of some stuff. Because all we knew was what he had said and what teammates had saw. They saw him handcuffed on the side, of the road. Cop on him, and that's all we knew. He said, I didn't say any swear words. I didn't say anything crazy. I wasn't getting, aggressive. So you're
not
like,
belligerent or anything.
Well, why was this? And that little bit, reason of the doubt, that Mike Tackett would talk about, that's happened not with me, but I've been with somebody where this situation's kind of happened where you just don't comply enough to where they're kind of like, what are you being smart or something like that? Or what are you doing? Or they're not sure. Because again, I was even one time I got pulled over and I was in the back seat and I was like, I didn't like, I was like taking my seatbelt off or something like that. You know what I mean? I was like, well, no, I'm just going to take my seatbelt off and sit here. And they kind of like pulled out guns, everything else, told them to roll down the window and see, look at me and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? They're like, what are you reaching for? And I'm just like, I don't know, I just took my seatbelt off. I'm sorry, I was just parked. I'm like, well, keep your hands up in this. I'm like, holy crap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like I did nothing wrong or anything like that, but they were ready to just, pull me out or whatever and see what was going on. But because they're risking their lives every single time
Right.
too as well.
Right.
And who knows what they're going to expect with a guy where they're saying he's talking to him and he refuses to roll his window down and ignore him. All right, well, what's going on? What are you doing? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it
so
could go either way.
Yeah, absolutely goes either way. And you could see it from the cops' view about how he's being non-compliant, rolls his window up in basically like an FU gesture. And that just pisses that's when the cop loses it. That's when he's like, all right, that's enough. Bam, bam, pound on the window. He doesn't pound on it. He opens the door to tell him something. Then they rip it open, take him out, handcuff him. And then it goes beyond that, too. It's not just Tyreek Hill. Then his teammate sees him on the side, pulls over just to find out what's going on. Happens to be Calais Campbell. And Calais Campbell gets in trouble. And it's just like, he literally did nothing. He pulled over and they told him to keep driving or something like that. And then he's like, I just stopped because that's my teammate. Like, do you know who he is? Like, he's like, we're on our way to play a game and blah, blah, blah. Like, he was trying to diffuse the situation, was very compliant. He wasn't, again, he wasn't being, a physical or aggressive towards the cops or verbally attack them or anything like that. But, man, I mean, once it reached that point, it didn't matter who you were. Everybody's going to get it. So, yeah, it could have been handled better from the cops, but also the reason why it escalated was because of certain actions that Tyreek Hill took, and I get it. But on the cops' view, too, on their side, they see the rap sheet on their computer, and they're like, oh, we got a guy who's always in trouble, always on the rap
aggressive,
sheet. Like,
So
they already had a bad feeling about it from the jump, and it didn't make matters any better when Tyreek Hill acted the way he acted. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's over with now.
Yep.
It's going to be swept under the rug. It's going to go away. All I know is that Tyreek Hill's calling for the cop's head on a platter, and he wants him fired. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. So Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson, calf injury. We're just hearing about it right before, the game just about, and
he was
Justin
inactive.
Fields gets the start. Not looking too good.
No.
The game was really rough. I didn't think they were going to win at all, especially just kicking field goals and stuff like that. But
yeah, no kidding.
But lo and behold, Atlanta still it gives them a victory here, and Kirk Cousins, a couple of turnovers that were bad for them, couldn't get it going. But again, he knows what he needs to do better, and hopefully they can bounce back after this loss here. But Pittsburgh gifted a win here, and then going into next week, Justin Fields looks like he's going to start again, and they said potentially they're going to keep it going to give Russell Wilson a little more, healing time and then put him in. But that's got to be a little frustrating, though, for Russell Wilson as well, though.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, too. This game was definitely decided by turnovers. And unfortunately for Kirk Cousins, he was the one that turned the ball over 2 times. Both interceptions thrown. I know one was his fault. The other one I didn't get a chance to see. But I will say they also lost a fumble, too. Like, that's 3 turnovers total throughout the game. I'm sorry. You can't have 2 or 3 turnovers and expect to win the game. And it was close. Like, it was still close to, even after all those turnovers. It was 18-10 they finished. All field goals by the Steelers. So the Steelers' offense wasn't clicking. The Atlanta Falcons' offense wasn't clicking. And it was just purely a defensive game that ended up the way it did just because of turnovers. So it is such a critical stat that when you go back and look at it, you're like, oh, well, that was probably the turning point. That was the difference. And, things didn't look good for either team offensively, but defensively, they both played pretty well.
All right. Next up, Tennessee and Chicago. Chicago and Caleb Williams gets his first home victory here in first game, right? Week 1, first time I think number 1 overall pick has done it in so long. I can't remember the stat, but it's kind of funny though, in the fact that how poorly he played. That that stat line comes up or whatever. That mark comes up here. I think that's kind of funny in this situation how it played out.
So Caleb Williams, the almighty rookie that everybody was crowning before he even stepped foot on a football field. Or NFL field, I should say, 14 of 29. 14 of 29 with not even 100 yards passing. 93 yards passing. No touchdowns. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over, so that's a plus. But nothing, really. You did nothing. To affect the game, you did nothing. So, and this is kind of what we were alluding to before we even got to week 1, that we didn't think he was going to do enough. And again, he finally has seen a true NFL defense where they're scheming for you. They're going to send blitzes. They're going to rush you. They're going to try to confuse you in the open field with their coverages and even ghost coverages to make it look like one type of coverage, but then change it last second. So they really confused him, honestly. And then it was working for Tennessee until Will Levis happened.
Yeah. That's the way
that was
game
a terrible play. Just to, if you can't throw the ball out of bounds, don't attempt to just flick it.
Yeah,
out of
that always blows my mind.
Terrible.
Try and do some things like this,
and because of that major turnover, they ended up losing the game. Now, if he doesn't do that, make that poor mistake, holds on to it, take the sack, it's 4th down. Okay, Tennessee punts it. It changes the whole dynamic of the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Where now your defense is in a way better point
position
spot on the field.
Yep.
And they have a legit shot to stop them 3 and out again, maybe, even if they get a first down one time. Then they shut them down, make them punt. You get the ball back. It changes everything. So he's definitely not going to live that down until he gets to week 2. You know he wants revenge. You know he wants to prove to everyone, like, no, listen, I'm not going to make a bad mistake like that again. I'm going to come out week 2 and you know, we'll hash it out then.
All right, Mike Tackett has a comment for us, Joe.
Said, with Pittsburgh not having the financial obligation for majority of his contract, what's the likelihood of Russ staying off the field if Justin Fields continues to manage games and continues to win? Now, I will say this. Fields sucked. Like, he didn't do anything to kind of cement that job. And I'm going to go back and look at his stats for the Steelers game, because in no point was that game, you think about 18-10, but only scored field goals. And then you look at what Fields did was 17 of 23. He's almost had Caleb Williams numbers, by the way, almost like a rookie. He threw for more. He threw for 156 passing yards, but no touchdown passes. He didn't turn the ball over, so that's good. But, again, low production for a starting quarterback who's already been in the league for a few years, gets on a new team, wants to prove that I am a starter in this league. I deserve this starting job. And week 1, you come out with that as a statistic. You didn't turn it over. That's good. But overall, you didn't light the field on fire with your performance either. So I say the jury's still out on Justin Fields. Still.
Yeah,
and
still.
Even if they hold out Russell Wilson for another week and Fields gets another start, if he has another mediocre performance or below average performance, I'm sorry, he's never going to be the starter. Like, he's young, he's still in his prime. He would have to find some kind of offensive minded coach that can literally build the offense around what he does best and try to win that way with them. But Steelers, so far, it doesn't look like it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't look like it's Arthur Smith calling the plays. So, I mean, we'll wait and see how that all transpires. But I really don't believe that Russell Wilson's going to lose his job because of Fields doing what he did. Like, okay, yeah, you could say, oh, he managed the game. Sure, he managed the game, but he didn't impact the game either. He didn't help you win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yeah. So I guess we'll have to watch week to week how it goes, but I don't really see that narrative playing out.
Yeah.
What games do we want to cover here? We got New England and Cincinnati. How about that one, Joe? We talked about this last week a bit too in Cincinnati. I joked it was a trap game, and lo and behold, here we go. They end up did losing, but it's Cincinnati. They do this. They start off slow. So for one, I would say don't hit the panic button. You know, chill out, relax.
It's only week one
it's
anyway.
Only week one again, anyways. Yeah, so they got time, and they're known for doing this. They're prone to doing this. On the other hand, New England, don't get excited. Chill out, man. Too. All right, you know, you got your win already. You got your one win. Congratulations. The rest of the road is really tough. So Cincinnati again, not looking good on all phases here, but a lot of teams this week really struggled in sloppy play, and that's the one thing I don't like about the preseason being so short and not having all that contact and things like that, and everybody resting their players. It's because the first couple of weeks of the season kind of look messy. You know what I mean? There were some good games there, here and there, but a lot of it was just messy. You know what I mean? And then you see the penalties nonstop, and it's tough to watch sometimes.
Well, it was messy not for just the teams, but also the referees were absolutely horrible in week one. And it's to be expected. They're part-time refs. We've had this debate multiple times about how the NFL is the only professional league in America that doesn't have full-time refs. And until they do, I'm sorry, they are not going to get any better. They're not going to get any better because in the offseason, what are they even doing? They're working at your schools. They're working, and doing service work. They have full-time jobs outside of this, which baffles me because the amount of money they get paid, you don't need to work a full-time job. So until they get full-time refs, and then in the offseason, that way you can do what everybody else does, the NBA, the NHL, the MLB. They, in the offseason, all look at the past season's, I guess you could call them questionable calls, and they go over it with a fine-tooth comb and say, this is how we want to call this type of play. I know it's a gray area for everybody, but this is how we all get on the same page. And then as the season gets here, everyone's on the same page for the most part. It's never going to be perfect, but you got to get it close to perfection as possible. So that's the problem with the referees. Now, with a lot of teams in the sloppy play, Jim's right. It's the lack of practices. They used to have two-a-days. Now your two-a-days are a couple hours on the field. We'll do some drills. We'll play patty cake on the sidelines, and then we'll head in for lunch. We'll go to the film room. We come back out for another 2 hours, but it's all light. You're not allowed anymore to have full pad practices both time, 2 times a day, and really kind of prepare your body for the physical regiment that it's about to partake for the season. Just doesn't happen anymore. So you're losing. You're allowed to only use full pads so many times a week. You're limited in that. You're limited in how many times you can practice. You're limited in the duration of your practice. There's so much limitations now. And now, on top of all that, they want to take more preseason games away. So the coaches have less to evaluate. They want to bring it down to 2 games now, where you're going to have 2 preseason games to evaluate talent. That's not enough. I'm sorry. People will say, oh, that's all they need is a couple games. They can definitely evaluate the talent through practices and those 2 games. Dude, sometimes guys have a bad week. There might be a guy trying to make the roster, and the game comes up. Now it's his opportunity. He doesn't play well. Oh, that was the second preseason game, though. I'm done. I'm going to get cut now.
Yeah.
Instead of having a one more opportunity at least, maybe if you ever bring back 4 preseason games, I doubt it'll happen, but that's when it got better. That's when the product on the football field in week 1 was so much better. You didn't see the sloppiness. You didn't see the miscommunication on the field between the defense or the offense. And conditioning was better. Some guys they pull their hamstrings now so fast. early into the season, they get injured a lot more often and quicker than they used to because they just don't have enough time and they don't prepare their bodies enough doing drills and the hard hitting. All that does matter, and it's showing up on the football field now. Guys got injured week 1. Some guys, Christian McCaffrey, a guy that he's well known throughout the league. He's feared in the league, and he was inactive before even kickoff happened.
Yeah.
And he's probably not playing this week, maybe even week 3. So, it's not working out to the NFL's benefit. It's a sloppy product right now, and maybe they'll reevaluate that in the future in the NFL meetings. But until then, we have to wait and see. It's going to get better, obviously, like as they play more games into the season. It's just how soon will it get better?
Right, and they're constantly stretching them thin with the the international games too as well.
Oh,
so I mean,
traveling.
It's a lot of it's rough, So So yeah, some key injuries here going forward. That was a good point, Mike Tackett out there. But again, I think Russell Wilson's got to step in on here eventually, and I think he'll probably get an extension after this season here for these guys. Indianapolis and Houston, that was a really good game. Like early on, it looks like the Colts were going to shock the Texans, but then they turned it on and they got back in the game. But one thing for the Colts, though, I think Richardson looks pretty good. He had that deep bomb that looked really nice, too, with pressure in his face, like right on target. So there's some positives to take from that game. And, again, Houston is a playoff contender. So you're expected that these guys were going to kind of take control of this game. Stephon Diggs get his, too, as well. Joe Mixon had a day. And Houston able to come out with that victory here. But Indianapolis, again, I thought fought really hard, and I think they're going to be a really good team this year.
Yeah, they're only going to go as far as Anthony Richardson can take them. Honestly, he was the missing piece last year. Obviously, when he got injured, definitely that's their guy. That's their starter. So, as well as he plays, and for as long as he plays, is going to kind of help dictate this Colts team. We already know that they have a decent defense. They got decent players, likewise, like the Texans. Texans are they're already proven, and they've retooled their roster to prepare for another deep kind of push into the playoffs. So C.J. Stroud had a good day, 24-32, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Anthony Richardson, a little bit different. This is where I want to see more from Richardson in the passing game.
Yep.
He went 9 of 19, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, and had 1 interception. So not a terrible day, but you would like to see the completions and passing attempts kind of like move up in this offense. Your rushing leaders for both teams, Joe Mixon had 30 carries. 30. They were serious about running the ball. 159 yards on 30 carries and 1 touchdown. And then it's funny because not the running back, it's Anthony Richardson had 6 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. It's one of those things where the Colts offense seems like they're still trying to figure out what they want to do. Like obviously you have Richardson who can run, who can throw, but it's like they're still trying to find their identity with Jonathan Taylor. So we'll wait and see how that develops. And then your receivers, Nico Collins had 6 catches, 117 yards. Alec Pierce had 3 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. And obviously Diggs chimed in too. Tank Dell had 3 catches, 40 yards. Here's an interesting thing that I found. Diggs had more catches. He had just as many catches as Nico, but only 33 passing or receiving yards. He had 2 touchdowns, but it's like, I thought he was going to be, and it's obviously it's going to change week to week because they have so many weapons, but I thought he was going to be a focal point in week 1, just kind of like, hey, this is our new toy that we're going to be throwing to. So, but yeah, so, I mean, those are a few stats for that game, very competitive game, and the Texans kind of, they won it in the end.
All right, let's move to I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns and the Dallas Cowboys game. Basically against about the Dallas Cowboys. right before, like 4 hours before the game starts, we hear now Dak Prescott gets the deal, the big deal,
Huge
highest
deal.
paid. Now the pressure's on. So now after all holdouts by CeeDee Lamb and then waiting, and what are we doing with Dak? These two guys are making a lot of money on this side, on the offensive side of the ball. And they look really good week one against a tough defense here. Both the defenses were kind of banging back and forth a little bit here. Just Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns couldn't get the offense going at all. But, Dak Prescott, now he's got to perform. He's got that big deal. These guys invested the money in this offense. They better take it as far as they can take it, and better than they have in the past here. So when you look at Dak Prescott and the Cowboys here this season, with that pressure of him having that contract now, CeeDee Lamb as well, is it Super Bowl or bust with these guys? I mean, he's got to do better at least than making it to the playoffs, right?
I mean, you have to get past round one. I think that's the goal, to get to round two. I mean, they haven't done that in the last decade. So, and to be honest, it's also they're playing for their coach, Mike McCarthy. Even though he's been great
he's the one
for
that did
Dallas,
get an extension.
where 12-5 the past couple of years, he's done phenomenal as a head coach with this team.
Yeah.
This team has obviously changed a little bit. They're still waiting for Deron Bland to come back halfway through the year because of injury, but also that has to be it. That has to be the finishing point of this season for them, is they got to get to round two of the playoffs. Otherwise, it's deemed as yet another failure, and Mike McCarthy honestly could be, on the chopping block. And I know it sounds crazy for a coach that's been winning way more than losing.
Yeah.
But this is how Jerry Jones works. This is a what have you done for me lately type of league. And yeah, you might have won some games for me, but do I have another trophy behind me? No. That's the goal for every team. So, and you've been here for a few years, might be time to move on. Might be time to go find someone else. We heard rumors about Bill Belichick wanting to come back to coaching next season. And if that's the case, that was rumored when he didn't land a job. Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones was talking to the media and saying I'd be interested in maybe bringing Bill in and sitting down with him, having an interview, whatever. And it was just wild to think you're talking about possibly looking into another coach when you have one that's coaching for you now.
Right.
So is this a prelude to Jerry saying, well, Mike, it's been real, but I want Bill here now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's to me almost like the guy, and we know a couple guys like this, the guy who's dating a girl that he likes, it's really good. It's perfect for him, but sees in his eyes maybe somebody that might be better looking or whatever, something that's he thinks wow, maybe I can get this girl though too, and kind of blowing this to go for that quick or something like that. And it's kind of why would you destroy that when it's perfect right now?
If it's perfect, why would you mess with it?
Why would you mess with it to go for that other girl when you don't even know how that's going to happen?
Yeah, don't fix what ain't broken.
Even what's going to turn of that. The other girl might be just blow you off, and then you're left by yourself, and then you're there and they're oh, this isn't what I thought it would be. I got to get out, and you already ruined what you just had.
Yeah, so you lose two times.
Right, and this is the thing with Mike McCarthy is I'm surprised that he's done so well here with this team, and that he had a longer leash with other coaches before. You know what I mean? So that he's only given this guy a small dose quick. He showed him that he can win, get to the playoffs, and just because they haven't won, I mean, come on. That's craziness.
It's the same scenario, and I know a lot of people aren't going to remember this coach, but Marty Schottenheimer. Marty Schottenheimer was one of those coaches. He was a winning coach every year, made the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
Had double-digit wins every year. And then the fifth year, sixth year, I forgot what it was, but all of a sudden he gets axed. He gets cut. He gets fired from the team. And everyone was like, why did you fire him? You guys were winning multiple games, like double-digit games every year. You were making the playoffs every year, and you just fired him because what? Because you didn't win a championship yet? But for years, he was making the playoffs, having a great record, and all of a sudden he just gets fired. This is the same scenario where Mike McCarthy is doing really well for the Cowboys, has double-digit wins last couple of years, and makes the playoffs.
He's 12-5, 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And makes the playoffs, but because he can't get past round one, you're just gonna fire the guy and say we need something different. Like, I don't think you should mess with success that you got going on here. It's just a matter of a couple things coming together for your team to maybe get over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're pointing at the coach who's winning games with your quarterback, with the players that he has, why mess with it?
Yep.
I think it would be a very, very bad decision if that does happen. But some owners, they just can't sit still too long. They're like, oh, well, we're not winning the championship. We keep making the playoffs. We're not winning. Something needs to change. It's got to be coaching, and they just make this drastic decision. And then before you know it, we don't hear from them for another 7 years of even making the playoffs. So
yep,
it's one of those things where, like, it's a very weird situation. We've heard rumors out of Dallas, but hopefully none of them are true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's an example here. Jason Garrett had 9 and a half seasons, because he did take over as intern coach after Wade Phillips was fired. 9 seasons, 3 playoff visits. That's it out of 9 seasons, and 3 double-digit seasons out of those 9. All the rest were 8-8 for a majority of them, or lower. So. There you go. And that's what I mean, for stay with him for like 9 seasons. That's
but that was a different time.
I get it.
Now we're in a different era of football where you didn't hold on to a coach just because he works well with the players and all this thing, and he's your X's and O's guy. Now it's more about, you got a short-term window, and you literally do. You got 3 to 4 years if you're lucky to prove to the ownership, to prove to the front office that you're the guy and you're going to get them wins and you're going to get a great end result. Eventually you'll get to the Super Bowl. Eventually you'll make the championship game, what have you.
Mm-hmm. I think
if you
maybe
don't
even
if you don't show progress, your ass is out the door and the next guy's going to be coming in.
right. And I think even partially added onto it is he wants to win one more before he passes away, I think, too. You know, I mean, he's getting older.
That's
I think
dangerous.
he wants to get one more, so.
And that mindset is dangerous. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because he wants one more. And the same thing happened with Al Davis owning the Raiders. When he knew he was getting at the end of his days, he started doing crazy shit. Like, he was paying whatever it took to get certain players onto that team to try to get them over the hump. And it's just not the right way to do things. It leads you to making very poor decisions and actually setting back your team more than helping it. So let's hope that Jerry doesn't do that, because history will repeat itself if that happens.
I want to talk about like 2 more games here, and then we're going to get to our picks. But also tonight, we did say that we were going to do what we call the Will Levis Challenge for you guys out there.
That's right.
Because we got past 100 subscribers finally, and
Yeah.
we told everybody that if we did, we would drink coffee with mayo in it. I have it loaded up there. I have to go get it. We're not really
So
excited
bad.
about this, but who knows? I might be pleasantly surprised. So maybe I'll bring down a puke bucket. If we
Still
have
wait.
to.
I'm still
Something
waiting
else
for
to wash it down with.
one of our new know-it-alls, who
Yes.
kind of helped inspire us to do this.
Yes.
I almost kind of
Shout out
want
to
to do
Life
it.
Changer.
Yeah, I almost want to kind of do it if he pops in the show tonight.
Yep.
If he doesn't, maybe we hold off to next week.
Okay.
Because he's the one that kind of got us there.
Okay.
He got us that extra subscriber to get to 100. So it's
Okay.
only fitting.
Sounds good. All right. So then maybe I got the coffee brewed up there.
I'll
It's
still
all
drink a
sitting
cup
there.
of coffee.
Okay. All right. So maybe I'll go get it. Joe, why don't you start getting into it with everybody about the Rams and the Detroit Lions game? What did you, I don't know, what was big out of this game that you kind of took away from this one? These monstrosities of teams. It didn't let us down at all. It was back
No,
and forth
it was
throughout
a
the
really
whole
good game.
game. Both quarterbacks played fairly well. I mean, Matthew Stafford played better than Jared Goff did, flat out, because But it was a tough game. I'm not saying that Jared Goff played terrible. I'm not saying that at all. But some of the things that Stafford was doing with having 3 injuries on the offensive line, and Puka Nacua out, and he was getting pressure, and he was still pulling off these no-look passes that were right on the money, all except for the one that was on 3rd down that he really needed to kind of help solidify a victory for them. But go ahead. Talk about it a little bit.
Yeah,
I've said my piece.
My only thing with Stafford is he only had 100 more passing yards than Jared Goff. He had 317. Jared Goff had 217. Jared Goff was more efficient, 18 to 28, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Stafford threw for the same thing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So really, they both played well. You know, there wasn't anybody that outplayed whoever. Like Matt Stafford, if you really want to kind of look at it, his attempts were through the roof. 49 attempts, completed 34 to get to 317. So I thought both quarterbacks did well. Both quarterbacks played well for their week 1 outing. And then you look at the running backs, you know, everybody was making a big case for Jahmyr Gibbs. You know, is he really going to get the bulk of the workload and whatnot? But David Montgomery is still kind of the lateral partner of Jahmyr Gibbs. You know, David Montgomery had 17 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs did very well for himself in the receiving department and the rushing department. Kyren Williams just really couldn't get it going. He had 18 carries, but only 50 yards in a score. Cooper Kupp really took off in this game as soon as Puka went down. He was involved. They were both involved. But then when Puka went down, Matt Stafford knew he had to go to his other go-to in Kupp. 14 catches. That's insane. 14 catches, 110 yards, and 1 touchdown. I know a lot of fantasy owners are very happy with Cooper Kupp's day. And then Jameson Williams on the Lions. He was the standout performer in the receiving corps. 5 catches, 121 yards in a score. Excellent day for him. Not so much for Amon-Ra. Definitely the Rams, like we kind of alluded to last week, that leading up to that game, what are they going to probably try to do? Probably double team Amon-Ra, have everybody else prove that, have everybody else basically beat them. So, with the Lions, also looking at Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams did well. Sam Laporta, he did okay. Wasn't as involved as I kind of expected. Had only 4 catches, 45 yards, no scores. And then, like we said, with Amon-Ra, only 3 catches, 13 yards, not much after that. So look for kind of a bounce-back game for next week from Amon-Ra. Get him moving. But overall, I got to say, the Rams defense is good. The Detroit Lions defense is much better, much improved. You think of Terrion Arnold, who they drafted, the rookie corner. He had a really good game. I really enjoyed seeing that Lions defense really come together and gel. And they got Brian Branch back at safety full-time where he belongs to help out on the back end. And man, this team... the defense overall is just way better than it was a year ago. Offensively, it's got a little bit of a boost with Jameson Williams now in the lineup as a starter. You got that speed dynamic now along with Amon-Ra, so that's going to be interesting to watch over the course of the season. And then for the Rams, I really like this young Rams defense. I really, really do. Even the rookies, Jared Verse had one hell of a game. His debut game as a rookie had one hell of a game. This young Rams team overall, they're going to be a problem throughout this season. And I know you look at the scores, 26-20. You're like, yeah, well, both teams scored over 20 points. Well, you know, it's actually pretty good nowadays. The NFL, there's a lot of passing going on. There's the NFL is skewed now to the point where it helps the offenses way more than the defense doesn't even get any help. They get handcuffed basically. But yeah, overall, this team, both teams had a pretty good outing, I'll say. And other than that, look for both teams to go into week 2, and for the Rams anyway, look to get their first win. For the Detroit Lions, they would be looking to stack up and get 2-0. So that'll be interesting to see for that game. And what I will say too is there's a few other games too that were close. That you look at the Jets and Niners game was close in the very beginning. Like the Jets kind of drove down, they scored real quick. I was like, what's happening right now? I don't know. So all right, we got some more know-it-alls in the chat here. So Gooby, welcome to the show, Gooby. He goes, I know this sounds crazy, but I think the Browns have a great chance to beat Jacksonville. I don't think you're that crazy. I think they do have a legit chance to beat Jacksonville, because when you think about it with Jacksonville, it's like Trevor Lawrence, he just hasn't been performing the best. And the Jaguars need him to perform better than he did last year. So far in week 1, didn't show enough. Guys been struggling. And also, Travis at the end, you can't turn the ball over. You can't fumble. This seems to be kind of a reoccurring problem for him. It was in college. Now it's following him into the NFL. And a guy also that does get injured as well. So for the Jaguars and the Browns got to bounce back this week. And I don't think you're crazy, Gooby. I think that there is a legit chance that Cleveland could maybe figure some things out this week, have a better game plan, and execute it against the Jaguars. I don't think you're crazy at all. I think it's a possibility. And in fact, it's such a possibility that I actually picked Cleveland to go into Jacksonville and get that win. He also says, I think Dallas is just a great team, and the Browns didn't have any type to study Zimmer in Dallas. Got caught off guard. That's that's probably a good point, Gooby. Jim, we got a new know-it-all, Gooby. He was just talking about Dallas, how he thinks that Dallas is such a great team that the Browns just didn't have any type of answer for them, basically, and got caught off guard. So I think that's a good point. I think that, but the Browns, mind you, from last year, their defense was so good last year that I thought that the Cowboys game would have been a lot closer, would have been tighter, right down to the wire, and the Cowboys just outplayed them, basically.
All right.
Welcome back, Jim.
I am back. That was a coffee run and a half.
I've already got done talking about the Rams and the Lions, and then I went on to
Bears. Oh my!
I touched on the Jets game, and then we had Gooby.
Yeah, well, what happened is I brewed the coffee and with the mayo already, and it curdled, so it was not very good. So I dumped it out. All right. Anyways, what Gooby have to say? Game tape, like gamer tape. About what?
Game tape must be game tape with the Dallas and Cleveland game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, now I'm out of the conversation. I'm entering the conversation now, so I'm a little behind. I apologize. They didn't have film to watch on Zimmer in Dallas. Nothing for the Browns offense to study. I don't know. They got pressured though.
No,
I mean, that has nothing to do with game tape. I mean, they were letting pressure get by them.
And here's the thing.
I don't think that has really done that. You studied Micah Parsons. You know what he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a pass rusher, right? So, what should have been the game plan? Double team Micah Parsons. Don't allow him to become a factor, and then run your offense until you start to figure out weaknesses in their defense. You already know Deron Bland is missing. Attack that side. Attack the other corner, the guy that's filling in for him. It's just kind of like common sense to me when you think about it from a football standpoint. Like, you attack weaknesses. Bill Belichick will tell you the same thing. He goes, every week I look at weaknesses for each team and we attack those over and over and over until they make an adjustment. Then we change it and attack something else. And that's what Cleveland should have been doing the whole time. And I think Gooby's onto something because Kevin Stefanski failed in the game planning part for the offense anyway to score points.
Yeah.
You can't.
I agree there.
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
I understand that Deshaun Watson had a bad game. I get it. He didn't have he needed to be much better and he wasn't. But also the offense overall didn't do well. The lack of protection was terrible. And I understand the injuries happen. The tackle, Jedrick Wills wasn't available, and that is a huge loss. But man, oh man, you got to do something then to change it up. Bring in another tight end. Have two tight ends. Go 12 man. Go 12 man protection. and try to make something happen that way against a team when you had all those injuries. So he's right in the fact that I think that maybe it could be a coaching problem against the Cowboys. Kevin Stefanski just didn't have the right game plan, didn't make the right adjustments throughout the game, and that's what it is. It is what it is. They got to move on now and go into week 2.
Yeah, but he says, I just think that's easier said than done, and that Dallas's defense is simply that good. In that conjunction with having literally no game tape to study just compounded the issue tremendously.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but, Cowboys definitely had weaknesses to exploit. So, it's one of those things where we can, hypothesize all day long about the game and what we think the Cleveland should have done, but in the end, they just didn't simply make the right decisions.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I was reading through. They definitely, I think they have a shot to beat Jacksonville as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think he's crazy, though?
No, I don't
Okay.
think he's crazy. You're not crazy.
All right.
This is a safe space for you.
This is a safe space.
Yeah,
We're all
you're
here
not
for each
crazy.
other
Yeah.
every single week.
All right,
Thank
so
you. By the way,
yeah.
I just got to say, thank you, Gooby, for tuning in.
Yeah.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button for us. Hit the likes up, the
Hashtag
button there for the
know-it-alls.
likes. Would be much appreciated.
Mhm.
All the love.
Yeah, definitely. So you talked about the Jets and the 49ers already?
I touched
Yeah,
on it.
you
I didn't
touched
really
on it?
dive too much
Okay.
into it. I just touched on it and talked about how the Jets took an early lead. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that point, it just seemed to be like Niners throughout the rest of the game.
there wasn't much to talk about. The Jets, I think, are still a good team. Just a little rough
They're
start.
gonna have a bounce
for,
back this
yeah,
week,
for,
I think.
rough start for Aaron Rodgers. Again, that's what happens when you don't show up to practice and you go on your ayahuasca retreats and spend your life in a cave for a little while, and then decide to come out and play. You don't get the workouts with your teammates and stuff like that and get on the same page. So then that's what we saw, a little bit of
Yeah.
that. So it'll work itself out. He's not worried about it either as well. 49ers are a good team. I thought they were competitive against them too for a while. So that is a good sign for Jets fans out there because you're looking like you just played the NFC champion here. So you did pretty well. All right, so Joe, it is time to do our picks. We're going to wrap up in just a little bit, about 20 minutes here.
Gooby, I
We
just
gotta
got one
get ready.
question for you. What's your team? What's your team?
Yeah,
Drop
who
it in
you
the comment section.
representing? Let us
We
know
like to
out
get
there.
to know our know-it-alls out there. So
Hashtag know-it-alls.
Yeah. There's no haters on anything here, So I mean, I'm a Giants fan, and it sucks.
But he does
this
hate
is
the
my
Eagles.
therapy here. But I do hate the Eagles. But we still talk about them, and I say good things about them. So
you do, even
all
though
good.
it makes you throw up in your mouth a little bit.
So yeah, it does. That's right. This
I get
guy.
it. I get it.
Here you go.
He's a Cowboys fan.
Oh.
Oh boy!
And then he pulls out.
Oh boy!
Oh, great.
Jimmy.
No, never mind. I don't know.
Winners don't use drugs.
I don't know if I like this guy. Now.
We appreciate you, Gooby.
I'm
Thank
kidding.
you so much for tuning in. And it'll be fun because you're not the first Cowboys fan we've had, but
Yeah.
also we know that you won't be the last.
Won't be the last, and we have fun.
We
there
do.
was a guy
good
that
time.
would come on too, Don. He's ghosted for a while. Maybe it's because Michigan won the championship. It could be that. Could be it. He doesn't want to talk
could
to
have
me
been
anymore. But he was a big Ohio State fan. Would give me stuff for being a Michigan fan all the time.
All in good
And,
fun.
Yeah, all in good fun though. We had fun with him. So Don, come on back, buddy. I'm ready for you.
He's locked and loaded for
That's
you.
right. All right. So now it's week 2 here, Joe.
Week 2.
We did a lot better
Already.
week 1. I didn't write that on our
Yeah, we
our
didn't go
stats
below
here.
500 this time.
We didn't. Like that's probably the first time in a hilarious. It was
I know.
like a while.
I think we've gone 500 before,
Right.
a little below 500, but
Right, on
there was a
Monday-
couple
on the first
seasons where
night.
we were just like way off.
Yeah, and what's funny is again, what's always interesting is him and I picked a bunch of games differently, and we tied 10-6 both. So starting off pretty good. Gooby and some others too. Was Riyadh's out there? Is that what
Yeah.
it was?
Riyadh.
Riyadh. What we do every year now, Joe and I have been doing
Oh,
this for 7 years.
so
Is
rough.
this like like season 8?
This is season 8, bro.
Season 8. We do a competition now. I have a football-shaped mug that's this
right.
big and round, and we fill it up with liquor. And the loser of our competition at the end of the season has to drink this thing on
Throughout
air.
the show.
And it gets sloppy, and it's a whole lot of fun. We do it
is.
like the week after the Super Bowl or so. So that's fun. So check out for that. So stay with us and do
Right
the
on.
picks along with us too as well. We love to compare with you guys.
Yeah, everybody, just make sure you drop in the comments below. We will react to comments. If you have a question, we will react to that. We'll answer to that. If you want to talk about something, like not even about the subject we're currently talking about, we will jump over and talk about that and get right back into it. Really appreciate everybody. Let's go.
All right, here we
Let's
go.
go.
Ready?
It's week 2
Thursday,
now.
Week 2, Buffalo Bills
Tomorrow
and the
night.
Miami Dolphins. Joe, again, Bills got off to a slow start against
right.
the Cardinals. We're able to kind of
Did.
bring it
Yeesh.
back in against the bad team,
Yep.
and get it done here. Josh Allen put a lot of it on his shoulders again, and you can't expect him to keep doing this throughout the season, though, because
Yep.
again, some of those hits they took, especially going across, leaping over some guys with that arm, and then getting into the end zone, getting hit. It's not going to be good.
Right.
But the Miami Dolphins, slow, sloppy start too. Again, if it wasn't for that breakout run with Tyreek Hill, we're not even talking about them coming away with a victory here. So Miami, slow start, Buffalo slow, but they go down to Miami. It is tougher for these Northeast teams in this division to win down there. I think it does make a big difference. We've seen it with the Patriots and the Bills. So I'm going to tip my hat to the Miami Dolphins on this one and say they get the win at home.
Yeah, the Bills they already lost a very big name in their defense in Teron Johnson, their nickel corner, who's been pretty much one of the best nickel corners in football right now. He is out already. So right there, already a huge disadvantage. We know that they have a couple of other key losses on that defensive side, which is going to play into this game. Now going into the Dolphins' home here, they're going to have to battle not only the Dolphins, but the Heat. It is hot down in Florida. And you mentioned Northeast teams. Now, they're not used to the heat and humidity that's down in Florida. And they're going to have to not only play the Dolphins, but also kind of battle the heat and try to stay hydrated, try not to cramp up. And I look at the defensive line, which, to be honest, besides Ed Oliver, is already lacking. They've lost players in this past offseason. They have new guys now playing at the defensive end positions. A.J. Epinesa is one of them, a guy who is a very big body, but a guy who's not really a pass rusher. He's not that good. Ed Oliver's their only true guy on that defensive line. I worry about that D-line getting tired because of the heat, because of chasing the Miami Dolphins receivers and running backs sideline to sideline all game long. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have your linebackers and your D linemen chasing, and they're going to have to rotate and rotate effectively and at the right time, because if I'm Miami now, I'm going to a hurry up offense when I'm playing the Bills. Any team like that that's not used to that weather, I'm going to a hurry up offense. I'm going to tire them out early and then take advantage of it. So with the Bills having only that one big loss there, I'm going to have to say, you look at Miami, too, they're banged up as well. Questionable to play is Devon Achane, their kind of star-studded back, who is finally back from injury this year. Now looks like he's a little bit beat up. His ankle's bothering him. He might not play because he's been questionable. That's something that's going to be a game-time decision. Raheem Mostert, he's out for this week. So what are they going to do with the backfield? Are they going to have to maybe play the rookie, Jalen Wright? Tyreek Hill underwent a minor procedure on his knee during the offseason. Looks like he was pretty healthy. He was running all over the football field. But other than that, that's pretty much it for injuries for both teams. So I think with the humidity, Miami's used to it, and their high-flying offense, I feel like they're going to get a better start this game. I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
All right. Next up for Sunday, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, again, looked really good. For the most part, they had it. I think they had an opportunity to win that game again against the Chiefs to finally get past that marker here. But hopefully when they come back into the playoffs and meet again, they can get it done. Vegas, Joe, how do you still believe in your coach? And I'm sure you probably do.
Yeah.
But the choice to go to Gardner Minshew, you did not like.
No.
And the fact that
I don't think he liked it either.
It was 4th and 1 in the last game too. You decide to punt when the game is on the line. Do you agree with what he did there too?
So there's two things that happened. He went for 4th and 1 in their own territory at the 30-yard line, which was a no-no. He's taking a page out of what's his name's book for the Chargers.
Brandon Staley.
Yeah, Brandon Staley. Didn't get it. turned it over. They ended up kicking a field goal. That was one big mistake. Another mistake was they get it in their territory at 4th and 1
Right.
towards the end of the game where you have an opportunity to go for it. If you get the first down, maybe you can score a touchdown. I know there's a risk factor in there, and they needed 2 scores. So he decided to kick a field goal instead. And you just, my problem is that I feel like the situations that he was given a decision, he failed at. And yes, part of that's learning, but also he has guys on the sideline to tell him, hey, that's not a good idea. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Like Marvin Lewis has been a head coach for the Bengals for a number of years, has tons of experience, just like much of the staff on this team has a ton of experience. A few of them are former NFL head coaches. So you would think that maybe they had a discussion of what they were going to do if that situation arose, and he made his own choice. It was the bad choice, but he made it. So I still believe in Pierce, but I think this is part of the season where he's going to be learning on the go. And yeah, he's going to take information from his staff, but also it's his decision in the end. So yeah, he goofed up week 1, 100%.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, so coming into Baltimore here, this is going to be tough because they do play well at home. This team is going to be upset that they just lost against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be firing back here. Baltimore, I feel, is just even a better all team than the Raiders. You've got Gardner Minshew at the helm again, which I wasn't excited about either because, again, I thought you already stuck with Keenan O'Connell Aiden O'Connell last year. Why change that and mess up the momentum? Give them a full another season here together with these guys to grow, and they didn't. So I think they're going to have a hard time here against the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going with Baltimore.
Yeah, as a rookie last season, mind you, came in as a rookie, second half of the season, went 5-3, had 9 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio in that time, and you say, we're going to go with Gardner, who's been a career backup his whole life. I mean, it's just been insane to me. So, I definitely don't agree with the Gardner Minshew choice, and it looked abysmal on week 1. Gardner Minshew himself didn't look comfortable at all. I don't know if the expectation for him was thinking, I'm not only going to get paid, but I'm going to be the backup and get paid. You're the starter. He didn't look comfortable. He looked like he didn't have confidence. He had a weak arm, and it showed on that game day. Instead of choosing to throw it down the field, he chose to drop it off most of the game, throughout the game. So, bad decision on the Raiders there as well. So, until that changes, I don't have much confidence in the Raiders' offense. The defense, however, oh my God. The defense was having themselves a day until the second half. Because obviously, if you have your defense on the field way too long, they get tired, and then they kind of give up all the yardage and the extra points in the end. Baltimore, on the other hand, they look sloppy in week 1. Not going to lie. Lamar Jackson, if he plays anything like that against the Raiders might actually have a chance to steal this game that nobody would anticipate. But again, they're playing the Raiders. Typically, their defense hasn't been the best against the run. And the Ravens are definitely going to look to get Derrick Henry going and make a statement with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So I think not only that, but Vegas going from West Coast to East Coast to play a 1:00 game, that just you might as well write rest in peace on that.
Chalk it up.
I'm going to go with the Ravens.
All right, the Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. Panthers smoked by the Saints here.
It was almost like they played a high school team that day.
It's embarrassing. Yeah, right. And that's when the things you do. If they keep losing like this is what's the question's gonna be asking. Like, all right, let's take the college's champion or best team and see if that team can beat them. This is the way everybody always brings up. Chargers again, tight game against your Raiders. Barely edge out the victory here. So they've got another opportunity against a really bad team to go 2-0 right here. I'm picking the Chargers.
Yeah, it's going to be fool's gold if people think the Chargers are going to rip up the league because Jim Harbaugh's there and they always teaming up with Justin Herbert and everything. That team did not look good, and even though they played the Raiders, which has a pretty good defense, they look really sloppy as well. Justin Herbert did not look like himself. He didn't connect on multiple receivers. The only guy that he kind of found a lot of is Lad McConkey, the rookie. And I'm not going to lie, if you remember, he was one of my fantasy sleepers. So if you guys weren't paying attention to pick him up in your drafts, that's on you. So, but like I'm going to look to see if the Chargers evolve now from their offense. We know that they're going to run the ball. We know that they're going to look to run that heavy, and that opens up things for Herbert. But going into this week now, are we going to see a little bit of evolution happen with this offense? Is it going to be more balanced? You know, going up against Carolina, they're going to take full advantage against Carolina, who's basically wounded ducks. The Panthers now, not only did they trade Brian Burns to the Giants, but now their guy, you know, Derek Brown, their other main attraction on D-line, he's out for the year. Who the heck is going to play defense for them now on the line? So I don't think they have too many answers there. I think the Chargers take full advantage now, run it down their throats at will, take full advantage of them. And the Panthers, I don't see them kind of putting up much of a fight here. And then you look at Bryce Young and how bad he was in his debut for this season. Things didn't look good. So obviously I'm going to go with the Chargers, even though they're going from West Coast to East Coast for a 1 o'clock game. I just think that even the time zone problem, I think they're going to overcome.
All right. Next, we got the Saints, the team that did destroy the Carolina Panthers, going into Dallas here. A Gooby's team.
Right.
It's an amazing team. You know, they're going to play hard. This team is good. The pass rush is there too. Yeah. So it's going to be a tough outing here for the New Orleans Saints. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think the Saints are for real. But the Dallas Cowboys always play really well at home too. I'm going to say they string two together here and take it at home.
Yeah, so the Cowboys got a little bit of good news this week. Jake Ferguson went down with an injury in the game. A lot of people suspected it to be season-ending, and in fact, it's not. In fact, they're very optimistic of his chances of even playing this week. Now, do they take a precaution, hold him out? That's a possibility, but if he's good to go, then he's going to be out there for Dallas. For the Saints, so last week was kind of like a cakewalk for them. There wasn't much, resistance for the Panthers, and they kind of just walked right through that game and got the win. This is going to be their first test. This really is. The Cowboys have a really good defense. They have a really good team. Now that everybody is singing Kumbaya in Dallas because the contracts got taken care of, everybody's on the same page, and they're back to their winning ways already, being 1-0. Saints, Dallas Cowboys, I feel like this is going to be a very good matchup, very good game to watch. I can't wait to see it. Are the Saints for real? Or was beating up on poor little the Panthers just kind of like a mirage for Saints fans? So this will be the true test. I know they're going into Dallas. Dallas plays so well at home. And the Saints, I just kind of like the firepower that they have. I like the revamp of that offensive line. I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. I'm going to go on a limb here and go with the Saints.
Sounds good. If you're going to go on a limb, do it early. Hell yeah.
It's a 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, right.
Pretty early.
Yeah, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. Tampa Bay looked really good. Detroit looked really good, but they did play, the Rams too, a tough game that they're going to probably see in the playoffs again. Tampa and Detroit, a really good game here. I think it's going to be tight. I would like to see Detroit get Amon-Ra St. Brown more involved in the offense, but Jameson Williams, holy moly, had his outing, and there it is, and he lit it up. It'd be nice if they get both those guys together here on this one. So Detroit, I really see them pulling off the victory here at home. The crowd's going to be bumping. I like the Lions in this one.
This is yet again another great game to watch. Both teams are seen as contenders for the playoffs. Both teams are seen as contenders for their divisions. And the Lions played at a high level against the Rams. They really did. Their defense looked much better. Tampa Bay, I was kind of waiting to see, are we getting the same Baker Mayfield as last season into this season, or was it just like a one-hit wonder type of thing? Well, Baker Mayfield threw for 4 touchdowns in mid-season form and let everybody know that this Tampa Bay offense is for real. It is here to stay. And the Buccaneers defense played admirably well. So this is going to be one kind of like a heavy bout here, heavyweight bout. Lions, Buccaneers. I had a hard time deciding which team I wanted to go with here, but I think I'm going to go with the home team in this one. I think the Lions pull out yet another win to go 2-0, and Tampa Bay gets a loss.
All right, Indianapolis at Green Bay. If Malik Willis is the starter, I see Green Bay losing this one because Indianapolis played really well against another playoff contender, the Houston Texans. And we just hope that, Anthony Richardson can look at last week and perform better, and just get better as we go throughout the season. And I could see that, defense looked good, offensive line holding tight. So I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts on this one to beat the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, Jordan Love, if he's not able to play, I know there's some hope
factor.
There's some hope that he'll play. But then again, my thing is, don't play him if he's even
don't rush
partially injured. Like, it's just not worth it for the long duration of the season. But if he does, it definitely gives him a way better chance on winning. And I would say if Love is 100% healthy and ready to go, I would pick Green Bay. But the fact of the question mark of him playing, and if it's true that Malik Willis is, in fact, going to be their guy, they're going to have to change the whole game plan up around him for them to have any kind of a shot. But the Colts, they're coming in on a high note, really. Like, even though they lost last week, Anthony Richardson looked a lot better as a quarterback. I want to see more passing attempts. I want to see more completions. But again, he did what was necessary to almost pull off a win against Houston. I like what I see there. I like the Colts defense, pretty sturdy defense. And to my surprise, their offensive line played much better than I thought it was going to. So I'm going to go with Richardson here and the Colts getting their first win in Green Bay. And if you're going to play Green Bay, it better be early in the season.
Yeah.
So gets pretty cold there.
Yes, definitely. Cleveland Browns and Jacksonville. I know Gooby talked about this one earlier. He would not be surprised if Cleveland goes and wins. I, on the other hand, think Jacksonville is going to pull off the win here. I think both defenses are going to perform well in this one. I'm just skittish on that Cleveland Brown offense, and I think Jacksonville at home will kind of bounce back from last week where they were in it all the way, though, too. I mean, they were putting it to well, not really putting it to them, but they were beating the Miami Dolphins at one point, and they let them off the hook. Miami came back in that one. I think Jacksonville at home is a great spot to be for them with a reeling offense here of the Cleveland Browns. Now's the time to attack. I like Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have both defenses looking to make a statement in this game. This might end up being a defensive game where both offenses are not on point. They're not hitting on all cylinders. Trevor Lawrence struggled in week 1. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll struggle in week 2, but when you open up the season for both quarterbacks, even Deshaun Watson having a terrible game, it doesn't give you any confidence going into the next week until they prove otherwise. So I feel like both offenses are still going to kind of be a little, disappointing, but the defenses are on both sides are going to keep each other's teams close. I think this might end up in a very tight score, maybe just a field goal at the end to decide it. But I'm with Gooby on this. I think I'm going to go with Cleveland going into Jacksonville and getting a win there.
All right, San Fran and the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota really put a pounding on my New York Giants.
A pounding.
Pounding. It was tough to watch. I think even the Vikings right now are mocking, the Giants and saying how they feel terrible for them and felt badly during that game for them. That's how bad my team is. So the San Francisco 49ers, they're talking about even resting Christian McCaffrey another week. But hey, Mason, how about that undrafted rookie here? Look at that, performing well, 100-something yards.
Really good. Really good day.
If he can perform like that again for them, why not sit Christian McCaffrey out? Because you do have these other stars, too, and they actually didn't play ridiculously well. They were able to dish the ball out to Ayuk and Debo a few different times to make some bigger plays.
Yep.
But, again, George Kittle, not a major factor. So you got stars there. Brock Purdy played a nice, clean game. I see him doing it This week, too, against the Vikings. Vikings have a pretty good defense, though, but I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers on this one.
Yeah, both teams have good defenses. You know that's not going to be an issue. I think it's really going to come down to who makes less mistakes, right? And whose offense is playing at a high level. Because even though both defenses are stout, they really are.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to, like you mentioned, Brock Purdy. Well, also on the other side is Sam Darnold, the starter for the Vikings. Those guys can't make mistakes. They can't turn the ball over. They can't misread something. It's going to be one of these games where it comes right down to the most minor of detail. I think Minnesota has a shot to win this because of how both teams, they're not familiar with each other. So there's going to be like a feeling out period in the first quarter or so where the Niners might not look like the Niners we normally see because the opponent they face is kind of strange to them. And likewise. So even that's all said, I think that San Fran has just way more going for them in terms of weapons, even minus Christian McCaffrey. Like Deebo Samuel had a phenomenal game last week. You saw him get involved. Ayuk might even be even more involved this week to kind of open up this offense. And you just mentioned Jordan Mason and how well he played. He deserves another start, even if McCaffrey's close. Just keep him out another week. So I'm going with the Niners in this one, going into Minnesota and getting a win.
All right, next up, the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. The Patriots pull off the upset victory here against the Cincinnati Bengals. Seattle started off slow, but then they started to gain pace here and pulled out a victory at home. This is going to be a tight game, I think, too. New England's going to try and play these guys tough, but Seattle, I think, just has the better team at this point. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks over the New England Patriots.
Yeah, this game is interesting to me because Seattle traveling from West Coast, that does affect teams. And the fact that they're playing a 1 o'clock game, I struggle with this because this is a real thing that people normally don't pay attention to, is the time zone difference is critical. If you're traveling from West Coast to East Coast and you play a 1 o'clock game, think about it this way. It's almost like I have to play a professional sport at 9 a.m. my time. That's what it feels like. You're just waking up. You're just trying to, oh, geez, I got to start running. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a shock to the body. So as much as I kind of like, I'm fighting myself to not pick the Patriots just because that it will be a factor. I hope it's not a factor. If it's not, then I think Seattle ends up winning just because they are in a much greater position right now with their roster. Much better. It's more solid. Geno Smith actually played pretty good last week. Yeah, he started off really slow, but he started to like kind of shake off the rust and return back to the Geno Smith that Seattle found 2 years ago. So I'm going Seattle.
All right, the Jets and the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee, again, coming off hot that first game and then kind of fizzed out, just turnovers, the story of that one. The Jets, like I said, started to play that game tough here against the 49ers, so that was their litmus test. I think they could do better. Aaron Rodgers is going to come back playing better. Tennessee, not as good as I think this Giants is, especially the Jets. And the Jets defense.
They both start with J.
Yeah, exactly. They're both New York teams, right? The Jets are going to put pressure on Will Levis again and try and force him to make turnovers. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, cool, calm, and collect. They're going to pull off their first victory here. I like the Jets.
Yeah, I had high hopes for Tennessee to get their first win opening week, and Will Levis let me down.
Yep.
Here they come. Now they're going to try yet again. Now they're home, so that's good for Tennessee. They definitely have a good team. I don't know how. It's going to depend on how Will Levis bounces back from last week's major mistake. But the Jets, they were this team that a lot of people, me included, had high hopes for with Aaron Rodgers and company. Definitely, they already have a good defense. The defense didn't look as good against the Niners. We're hoping that this week is kind of like a cleanup game where they're going to fix all the mistakes they made last week, come back in this week and make a statement against Tennessee. I like the Jets' chances in this one. I think Will Levis, he may be in for a rough one because he not only faced the Bears defense in week 1, week 2, it doesn't get any better. This could be a better defense than the Bears D. So I'm going with the Jets in this one.
All right, next. Now we've got the Giants. The Giants and the Washington
You were
Commanders.
just thinking
I was
ahead.
trying to think
That's
ahead. Yeah. I just want to think ahead past this season again because I can't watch the Giants games. This is going to be tough.
I'm right there with you, brother, with the Raiders. So.
All right. Yeah, it seems like we're always in that boat, Joe.
We're always
Oh, man. So the Giants go into Washington. Washington Commanders, again, need to look better here. But I think, again, they got the better quarterback at this point. Jaden Daniels can get some stuff here done. Dan Quinn and company, I think we're going to be able to bring it here this week. Giants, just like I said, don't look good on any phases. You know, you bring Brian Burns in and stuff, and you're hoping to get some kind of pass pressure, or even if they double team him, you know, Thibodeau or somebody, and nobody. You know, I mean, they weren't doing nothing. And on offense, just putrid. You know, so I'm not seeing a whole lot here. And like I said, from here on out, as you know, I'm just going to bet against them. So the fact that if they do win,
Right.
I'm excited. And if they lose, like I'm intending, I get my victory here against Joe. Or he'll just go along with me. So that's what I'm going with. Washington.
Here's the thing. So fans have already turned on Daniel Jones.
Yes, they
Like,
have.
big
the
time.
Bluebirds.
Like, not only booing, but for the fans that were closer to Daniel Jones, like we heard an
on that
audio
clip.
recording of them saying how much he sucks. Give me $1 million. Like, you know what I mean? They basically want his head on a platter. They no longer want to see him in a Giants uniform. And things don't look good. They just don't simply look good for this Giants offense. Whether Brian Daboll's calling the plays, he just seems to continue to make poor decisions and mistakes, and it's mounting up. There's no longer a scapegoat anymore. You can't say, oh, well, I don't have receivers. Oh, I don't have protection. That may be the case from time to time. The offense still doesn't look as seamless. It doesn't look like they're all on the same page. Hopefully this week is a little bit different for Giants fans out there. But they're going against a team where they should win, honestly. They should. This is a team that is led by a very young rookie in Jaden Daniels. He had a decent game last week, but again, there wasn't a whole lot of passing involved. It seemed like they tried to run the ball a lot. They wanted to take all the pressure off of Jaden Daniels and say, all right, we're just going to run through this whole game, and that just didn't work. You're going to have to be more balanced. I don't care if you're playing the Giants or not, but Jaden Daniels and company, they need to throw the ball. They need to release him and let him play and do what he does. So I got Washington in this one. I'm going to go along with Jim on this. I'm going to pick against the Giants all season long, and until the Giants
Hope for
start
the
to
best.
prove us wrong.
Right.
Really.
Right. Next up, we got the Rams and the Cardinals. Cardinals again coming out, hot on fire against the Bills, but then they come back down to earth.
Yeah.
Rams played really well. Had the game, at 1.2 against the Lions. They're not going to lose 2 in a row, especially here against the Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Rams here. Not
Kyler
much to
Murray
say
had
about
a
this one.
decent week 1,
Mhm.
but he tweaked his knee again. He was a full participant. But the thing is we're going to have to monitor him, because if he's already getting nicked up in week 1, if he happens to go down, this team doesn't win again, because they don't have much to rely on. And Marvin Harrison Jr., who they drafted, and rightfully so, gifted player, he was a non-factor in this game.
Yeah.
Didn't really get the ball at all. So it's like, dude, what are we doing? Michael Wilson got involved. Greg Dortch I think he only had a couple catches, 2 or 3 catches,
He
but
had that
nothing extravagant.
out-of-bounds catch that he
Nothing
almost had.
crazy. No playmaking play or anything like that. So it's like, man, you guys are really kind of just living off the run game at this point, whether it be Kyler or your backs. So I don't think that's going to fly. You're going up against a Rams team that, yes, you're very familiar with, but man, this team is so much farther ahead than the Cardinals roster. It's not even close. Stafford, Cooper Kupp, he's going to get his due. And then, obviously, Kyron Williams is going to look to run. This young defense for the Rams, I just think there's too much going up against Arizona in this one. I got the Rams all the way.
All right. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Denver Broncos. Steelers again pulling out the victory somehow with just field goals. Justin Fields.
Yeah, how's
here
that
at the
work?
helm in this one, I know. Denver again not looking so hot in their debut. I'm really not big on Bo Nix again, so I'm going to bet against him here, and I'm going to ride that Pittsburgh defense here in TJ Watt. I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Broncos at home.
Yeah, I'm one of the Bo Nix haters, if you will. Did not like him coming out of college. I thought that he was in a kind of like an offense for high percentage throws, and rightfully so. But so far in week 1, he's shown some things to me. He's shown that he's going to look and find the guy that's open. He's going to make the right call, right throw. And he has a strong enough arm. I thought he had a super weak arm, much like Gardner Minshew, but it's not. It's much stronger than that. So he's given me a glimpse of hope in terms of his development. Now, when you team that up, and he's just going to continue to get better as the season goes, with a very stout defense, I think that's a good recipe to steal a couple of wins. Pittsburgh, going into Denver, very hostile place to play. But I do like the Steelers' defense, too. Now, the only thing that I don't like about the Steelers' defense is that there are times when they play a zone defense predominantly that it allows teams that notice where the holes are in the throwing lanes. I think this is what Denver's going to game plan for and try to keep moving the ball and mixing it up with the run. So with that all being said, and then I don't have confidence in Justin Fields. It's just point blank. I think he didn't do enough in week 1. And who knows? He didn't turn the ball over in week 1, but against a good defense this week, I think he might. And that might be the deciding factor of the game. I think I'm going to stick with Denver Broncos for the first time ever.
Oh,
and
right.
pick them.
That's right. It might be the first time ever. Monumentous. Here we go. Now we got the Cincinnati Bengals here and Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sure, when they selected this game here, they were thinking this is the game of the week.
Right.
Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City is tough to beat at home. They got the crowd there. They've got Taylor Swift and company too. So watch out. All
Don't
the
forget
Swifties.
about the Taylor effect.
And like I said, you got to watch out for that. Joe Burrow, again, and these guys looking slow. Hopefully they can do something here to get back in this one and bounce back, but highly unlikely. It's going to be a rough road for them to get back into this one. I'm going to side on the air of caution and go with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, Cincinnati didn't look good in week 1 at all. Jim definitely pointed that out before we made our picks in week 1 and said that they usually start off slow. I don't think it picks up much more after week 2. I think that they're going to struggle and continue to struggle against Kansas City. And there is no sign of T. Higgins. Looks like he's holding out still. I don't know if he's holding out or if it's just the fact that he might be banged up or something. Or he's faking an injury. We'll have to figure that all out.
They're really missing Joe Mixon right now, too.
But,
Joe.
yeah, in the loss of Joe Mixon, it's clear and glaring. The fact that their running game was Zach Moss, Chase Brown, who they really do like, and I like that kid, but he wasn't available in week 1. I don't know if he'll be available in week 2. But, again, this team is struggling. And Jamar Chase wasn't even 100%. He was dealing with an illness in that game. He still made his plays and everything. But I think that now you're coming into this game, you needed all hands on deck. You really did. You needed Jamar Chase. You need T. Higgins. You need all of your players available to go up against Kansas City to even have a chance. You're going into a very hostile environment, very loud environment. This is going to bother this team. And Cincinnati, I'll tell you this right now, Kansas City is going to look to try to run the ball down their throats because in week 1, they couldn't stop the run to save their lives. And that defense did not look good at all. So that's got to be concerning. If you're a Bengals fan, you've got to be concerned with your team and how they're starting off the season. We'll see how they end it. But before we get there, Kansas City is going to easily take this win.
All right, Sunday Night Football, Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans here. Tail of the tape is obviously directed towards the Houston Texans side on this one. Yeah. Although, again, we've talked about this, and the Bears' defense is good. Caleb Williams did not play very well the first week. He's got a tough road against him here, against this tough Houston Texans defense here, and then this offense on the other side that could score on you on will and kind of get this game out of hand possibly. So I'm going to go with the Houston Texans on this one.
You don't say.
And Caleb Williams in prime time. Let's see what happens. If he doesn't win here, I don't know. You might have to say, hey, man, maybe you can't do it in prime time, baby.
I'm sorry. He's not going to do it in prime time. It's that simple.
I wonder what color nails he's going to wear.
He played like ass in week 1. He didn't even throw for over 100 yards. 93 yards passing. It's it.
Yep.
Limited.
0 touchdowns.
They tried to take pressure off of him, but like, hey, if we can get by with the run, we're going to do that. And it just wasn't working. I'm sorry. The only reason why Chicago won in week 1, you can thank Will Levis for turning the ball over for a touchdown.
Yes.
Not just turning it over, but it was basically a pick 6. So otherwise, Chicago has a loss already. Now you're going against Houston, another. I would say just a way better team than Tennessee. Tennessee's still growing and figuring things out with a new coaching staff and new players. This is a team in their second year that's already deemed as a favorite to win the division, already deemed to make the playoffs, and who knows how much farther they'll go after that. I think it's Houston all day long. At home, Chicago visiting. This is not a recipe for Chicago to get a win here. This is going to be Texans all day.
All right, here we go. And finally here for Monday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is going to be a physical game. I think it's going to get very chippy. These teams do every single year, depending on no matter what, who is on this team. For some reason, these two teams hate each other. And here in Philadelphia, where the fans are extremely violent and get crazy. But Atlanta, Kirk Cousins he's got blood in his mouth, or he's looking to wipe that out and kind of restart here, get this team back into it. But it's going to be tough because, again, the personnel that Philly has, and they were kind of sluggish last week. And Saquon Barkley showed the impact that he's going to have on this team, especially if the rest of the guys are kind of Jalen Hurts is struggling. They can go behind Saquon if they want. So, right. I mean, the weapons, they're at home, defense. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles on this one. So it's going to be a rough start here for Atlanta right away.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is one of those games where I really so badly want to pick Atlanta. I'm going to root for them all the way through it.
Yes.
But
me as well.
Here's the deal. Kirk Cousins, first week, he turns the ball over 2 times, throws 2 picks. They turn it over for a third turnover due to a fumble. You can't have turnovers. If they're able to keep their game clean, they got a shot to pull out a win. But if there's 1, even 2 turnovers, I feel like the Eagles are going to take such advantage of it because not only are they a roster prepared to win now, but Atlanta still isn't a finished product. They're young. It's like they tried to gear up this year to become contenders, to be in that playoff race. But man, you can't make mistakes. So for the Atlanta Falcons, you can't have mistakes in this game. You got to play a near perfect game for Atlanta to get a win. Philly, they just don't have much of a weakness at any point on defense, on offense. And this is kind of the thing where Atlanta could pull off an upset, sure. But I just think that the Eagles are they're battle tested. They're ready to go. And this is a team that they're going to look to kind of just wipe off the field here. I think the Eagles are going to get the win, playing, especially like you mentioned, Jim, playing at home, very hostile environment. Atlanta's going to come in there. This is the Eagles' house. They're not going to allow Atlanta to win.
All right, there you go. There's our picks for the week. We'll see how we do. We're already starting off better than we normally do, so this is always good.
It's always good.
So we're excited. The NFL season is here in full swing. So we're looking forward to seeing these games. Tell us what you guys think out there. Joe, why don't you let these guys know where they can find more of the show? Like and subscribe.
Yeah,
share.
It's very easy. First of all, I want to say thanks to all the new know-it-alls that chimed in, all the comments down below, and some of the OG know-it-alls. Shout out to you guys. That's what makes this show fun to do. It's what keeps the show going.
Hashtag know-it-alls.
We're basically all each other's, therapists for the NFL, and that's what it's about. Sharing is caring, everybody.
Yes.
And you could do that very easily by heading over to YouTube, where we're at. Make sure you hit that share button to everybody that you know that loves football talk. And not only that, I just have to, we're self-proclaimed here. We are the best interactive NFL talk show out there, and we want you guys to prove it. That's what it's all about. Also, make sure you don't forget, hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on to all when you can get that alert whenever we're on, and make sure you hit the thumbs up there for us. You can also follow us on X, which is formerly known as Twitter. That came out a lot better.
Yes.
And we are at FB_no. And we can't wait to see you guys next week.
Yeah, and it's funny how everybody keeps saying it as that too. It's like formerly known as Twitter X, blah, blah,
Because
blah. It's like, and it's been X for so long
Yeah.
now. It's like, but it's just weird sounding. So thank you so much, everybody. As you see, we are constantly working on the background and everything. So the studio is getting
being
work
updated.
So I'm excited for that. And when you see the results, I think you guys will be excited as well. So sit tight for that. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.